It was a sunny spring afternoon when Andre was walking distractedly through the busy streets of downtown. He had just left work, exhausted but satisfied with another productive day. He decided to stop at a cozy cafe on the corner, a place he often visited to relax and watch people pass by. As he entered, the sweet aroma of freshly ground coffee enveloped him, bringing immediate comfort. He headed to the counter to place his usual order, a cappuccino with a touch of cinnamon. While waiting, his gaze drifted to a table in the corner of the cafe, where a young woman sat engrossed in a book. She had wavy brown hair that fell softly over her shoulders and wore delicate framed glasses that gave her an intellectual and mysterious air. Something about the scene intrigued him. Perhaps it was the serenity with which she turned the pages or the lightness in her face when she found an interesting passage. Without realizing it, Andre found himself walking toward her, drawn by an inexplicable curiosity. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" he asked, pointing to the empty chair in front of her. She looked up from her book, surprised, and a gentle smile formed on her lips. "No, you can sit," she replied, carefully closing the book. The conversation started timidly, with Andre asking about the book she was reading. Her name was Laura, a young architect passionate about classic literature and travel. As the minutes passed, Andre and Laura found themselves immersed in a conversation that flowed naturally, as if they had known each other for years. They talked about dreams, travels, and the hidden beauty in everyday details. Time seemed to stop inside that cafe. The connection between them was palpable, and both felt something special emerge from that casual encounter. When night fell and the city lights began to shine outside, Andre and Laura were still there, laughing and sharing stories like old friends. Before saying goodbye, they exchanged phone numbers and promised to meet again. That unexpected meeting marked the beginning of something that, for Andre, seemed like the start of a beautiful love story. He did not know, however, that the dreams and desires born at that moment would soon be tested in a way he could never imagine. With a light heart and a smile on his face, Andre left the cafe, eager for what the future might bring. Little did he know that meeting Laura would change his life forever in ways he could never predict. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, when Andre decided that this would be the perfect moment. He had meticulously planned every detail, determined to make that night unforgettable for Laura. It had been 2 years since that casual meeting at the cafe, and the connection between them had only strengthened, turning into deep and sincere love. Andre chose a special place for the proposal, the park where they often walked on weekends, a haven of tranquility amid the city's hustle and bustle. He prepared a surprise picnic, with a basket filled with delights he knew Laura loved. When they arrived at the park, Laura was delighted with the surprise, her eyes sparkling with joy. They walked hand in hand to a secluded clearing where a blanket was spread under a large tree, illuminated by tiny fairy lights hanging from the branches. They sat down, enjoying the wine and laughter, as the sky above them turned into a starry blanket. Andre waited for the right moment. He felt his heart racing but remained calm. Laura was telling a funny story about a recent project at work, and he watched her with admiration. When she finished, he took her hand, looking into her eyes with an intensity that made the world around them disappear. "Laura," he began, his voice firm yet gentle, "these last 2 years by your side have been the most incredible of my life. From the moment I met you at that cafe, I knew there was something special between us. You brought light and joy to my days in a way I never imagined possible." She smiled, squeezing his hand, feeling the emotion in the air. Andre continued, taking a small velvet box from his pocket. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, sharing laughter, facing challenges, and building memories. Laura, you would make me the happiest person in the world if you would accept to be my wife." He opened the box, revealing a delicate ring with a diamond that sparkled under the starlight. Laura brought her hand to her mouth, surprised and moved, tears of happiness welling up in her eyes. "Andre," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They embraced, laughing and crying at the same time, sealing the moment with a passionate kiss. The promise of a future together was sealed, and the world seemed to shine with a new intensity. For Andre, that night was the beginning of a new chapter, full of hope and love. For Laura, it was the fulfillment of a dream. The two stayed there, under the stars, embraced, talking about the future and imagining all the adventures to come. At that moment, everything seemed perfect, and life had never been so sweet. The wedding day dawned with a clear sky and radiant sun, as if nature were in perfect harmony with the occasion. Andre woke up early, his heart pounding with anticipation and happiness. He remembered every detail of the past few months, from meticulous planning to growing excitement, all culminating on this long-awaited day. The ceremony was to be held in a charming garden of an old mansion, decorated with white and lilac flowers that perfumed the air. Friends and family began to arrive, all smiling and hugging, sharing the joy of the moment. There was a magical atmosphere, a sense that something truly special was about to happen. Andre was elegantly dressed in a dark gray suit with a lilac tie that matched Laura's bouquet. He waited anxiously at the altar, trying to contain his emotions while talking with his best man and close friends. Every second felt like an eternity, but he knew it would be worth it. The soft music of violins filled the air, signaling the start of the ceremony. The guests stood and turned to look at the entrance. And then there she was. Laura appeared at the end of the aisle, stunning in a white lace dress that seemed made for her. Her wavy brown hair was styled in an elegant updo, adorned with small white flowers. She held a bouquet of lilacs and roses, and her smile was radiant, a mixture of nervousness and pure joy. As she walked down the aisle, Andre's gaze never left her. He felt as if his heart would burst with love and admiration. Each step Laura took seemed to bring a stronger wave of emotion. When they finally met at the altar, he took her hands, feeling the softness and familiarity he loved so much. The officiant began to speak, his words echoing with the promise of a future full of love and companionship. Andre and Laura exchanged handwritten vows, sincere words reflecting the depth of their feelings and the journey they had taken together. Each word carried emotional weight, a testament to their love and commitment. "I promise to stand by your side every step of the way, in moments of joy and difficulty, sharing laughter and wiping away tears," Andre said, his voice firm but laden with emotion. Laura looked into his eyes, feeling the sincerity of every word. "I promise to love you with all my heart, to be your support and your home, every day of our life together," Laura replied, tears glistening in her eyes. With the exchange of rings, an eternal symbol of their love, the officiant declared them husband and wife. The kiss that sealed the moment was full of tenderness and passion. As the guests applauded and cheered, flower petals rained down on them, creating a dreamlike vision Andre would never forget. The reception that followed was a celebration of love and joy. Laughter, dancing, and toasts filled the night, as Andre and Laura lost themselves in the happiness of the moment. They danced their first dance as husband and wife under a starry sky, surrounded by those they loved most. That day, everything seemed perfect. Andre believed he had found his happy ending, the beginning of a life filled with love and companionship. As the night wore on, he could not imagine that fate had different plans, and that his journey was only just beginning. The full moon illuminated the starry sky, casting a silvery glow over the city. The wedding reception was at its peak, with laughter, music, and dancing filling the air with joy. Andre and Laura had been inseparable all night, dancing and laughing as if the whole world had disappeared, leaving just the two of them. However, as the night progressed, Laura seemed increasingly distant. Andre noticed the subtle change in her behavior but attributed it to the exhaustion and emotion of the day. He approached her, offering a glass of champagne, but Laura refused with a forced smile. She excused herself to go to the bathroom, and Andre watched her walk away, her graceful silhouette disappearing among the guests. Minutes turned into an hour, and Laura did not return. Worried, Andre went to the ladies' room, but she was not there. He began asking friends and family if anyone had seen her, but no one knew of her whereabouts. A sense of unease began to take hold of him, growing with each negative response. Andre left the party, searching for Laura everywhere. The garden, the parking lot, the mansion entrance. She had simply vanished. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and confusion. Returning to the ballroom, he found his best man, who suggested calling her. Andre took out his phone and dialed Laura's number, but the call went straight to voicemail. Amidst growing anxiety, Andre realized something was terribly wrong. He found one of her bridesmaids, who was visibly nervous and reluctant to speak. Gently, he insisted until she, with tears in her eyes, handed him an envelope Laura had left for him. With trembling hands, Andre opened the envelope and began to read the letter. Laura's words were cold and calculated, describing how she had married him only because of the fortune left by his grandfather. She revealed that she had learned about the precious stones and land plots before they even started dating, and that it was all a plan to seize his wealth. The words blurred before Andre's eyes, the world collapsing around him. He felt betrayed, used, and his happiness of the day turned into indescribable pain. The party continued around him, but for Andre, the sound of music and laughter seemed distant, muffled by the devastation he felt. He left the mansion, wandering aimlessly through the deserted streets. The reality of what had happened began to sink in, bringing an overwhelming sadness. Andre found a bench in a nearby park and sat down, holding the letter tightly, as if he could better understand everything by reading it again. Tears began to stream down his face as he wondered how someone who seemed so perfect could have done something so cruel. The night wore on, and Andre remained there, lost in his pain and confusion. The stars shone indifferently in the sky, and the moon continued to illuminate the night with its cold light. Andre, however, felt plunged into a darkness from which it seemed impossible to escape. Days had passed since the night of the wedding party, but for Andre, each moment was a battle against the pain and confusion that had taken over his life. He distanced himself from friends and family, seeking answers that seemed to elude him with each attempt. Laura's cruel words echoed in his mind, bringing a mix of anger and sadness every time he revisited them. On a gloomy autumn afternoon, Andre decided he needed to confront the facts head-on. He gathered all the evidence he had found about Laura's fraud, records, documents, messages, everything that confirmed his suspicions that he had been used as a pawn in a cruel game of greed. With a heavy heart, he sought the guidance of a lawyer, determined to uncover the full truth about what had really happened. The lawyer reviewed the documents carefully, asking meticulous questions to understand all the details of the situation. Not only did he confirm Andre's suspicions, but he also revealed that Laura had meticulously planned to gain control over his family's fortune from the very beginning. Every step she had taken, from their first meeting to her cruel abandonment, had been calculated to achieve her selfish goal. Andre felt a mix of relief at finally understanding the truth and renewed pain from the profound betrayal he had experienced. He struggled to reconcile the image of the woman he had once loved with the cold and manipulative person she had revealed herself to be. Every piece of the puzzle fit together, forming a picture he could never have imagined before meeting Laura. The revelation of the truth was like a whirlwind that swept away the last remnants of illusion from his life. Andre realized that even in his pain, a new clarity was emerging. He was no longer the man Laura had left behind that night, lost and confused. Now, he was someone who knew the truth and was determined to face the consequences, not just for himself, but also to protect his family's legacy. With the truth now clear before him, Andre began to plan his next steps with renewed determination. He knew the battle would not be easy, but he had found a new strength within himself to face the challenge. The journey ahead would be arduous and full of uncertainties, but he was determined to seek justice and restore the honor that Laura had tarnished with her betrayal. Months had passed since Andre discovered the devastating truth about Laura. The weeks were filled with endless meetings with lawyers, financial consultants, and inheritance specialists. Every document examined, every detailed conversation was an attempt to understand and protect the fortune his grandfather had left him, now threatened by his ex-wife's cunning plans. Nights turned into days, all immersed in a whirlwind of worries and difficult decisions. Andre found himself facing the worst possible scenario, losing not only the precious stones and land plots that were his rightful inheritance, but also the reputation and financial stability his family had built over generations. The courts became the new battleground, where skilled lawyers presented complex arguments and tried to untangle the knots Laura had so cunningly tied. Each hearing was a test of emotional and psychological endurance for Andre, who faced not only the legal system but also the shadows of the past Laura had left behind. The stress was palpable in every line of his face, every gesture of his hand as he held documents that seemed to determine his fate. Sleepless nights turned into endless days as he fought to find a solution that could restore the order and justice that had been so cruelly distorted. But amid the turmoil of legal proceedings and tense hearings, a light of hope began to emerge. Andre found unexpected allies, childhood friends, co-workers, and even strangers who, upon hearing his story, offered moral support and encouragement. They became an emotional safety net, reminding him that he was not alone in this battle. With each step taken, each decision made, Andre felt his determination grow. He would not let Laura's cruel actions define his future. Instead, he would use this experience as a catalyst for change, an opportunity to reaffirm the values and principles his family had stood for so long. The near loss of his fortune turned into a lesson of resilience and perseverance for Andre. He learned that the true value of wealth was not just in its physical form but also in the inner strength and integrity that guided him through life's storms. And as the battle continued, he knew he would not give up until justice was restored and his inheritance protected, not just for himself but for future generations who would rely on him to preserve his family's legacy. The morning arrived cold and foggy, mirroring Andre's state of mind as he wandered aimlessly through the city streets. His footsteps echoed solitary on the sidewalks wet from the previous night's rain. Each corner seemed like a crossroads of conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, determination. He eventually found an empty bench in a quiet park and sat down, lost in his thoughts. The wind whispered softly through the leaves of the trees, creating a momentary truce in Andre's internal storm. He looked around, seeing people hurriedly passing by, each with their own life and worries. A knot formed in his throat as he thought about what he had lost. The marriage that began with promises of love and a bright future now unfolded into a plot of deception and betrayal. He wondered how he could have been so blind, so naive, not to see Laura's true intentions from the beginning. Minutes turned into hours as he sat there, immersed in his own despair. Every breath was a struggle against the darkness threatening to consume him. He felt as if he were on the edge of an abyss, looking down and facing the emptiness stretching out before him. Then an older man approached, his face marked by time and experience. He had an aura of calm and wisdom, something that caught Andre's attention without him initially realizing it. The man sat beside Andre without saying a word, just observing with silent understanding. Finally, after a long moment of tense silence, the man began to speak. His words were simple but full of meaning. He shared his own story of struggles and losses, revealing how he found strength in the darkest moments of his life. He spoke about the importance of finding hope, even when everything seems lost, and how each challenge can be an opportunity to grow and become stronger. Andre listened intently, absorbing every word as if it were a balm for his wounded soul. He began to see his own despair in a new light, realizing he was not alone in his pain. The encounter in the park was not just a coincidence. It was a reminder that even in the depths of adversity, there is always a spark of hope that can be nurtured. As the sun began to break through the clouds, Andre felt a new sense of determination rising within him. He thanked the man for the unexpected encounter, realizing that despite all the obstacles he faced, he had within himself the ability to rise again. Standing up from the bench, he knew the road ahead would be tough, but he was determined to move forward, step by step, towards the light now faintly shining on the horizon. Andre entered the law firm with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. He was surrounded by walls adorned with diplomas and awards, visible testaments to the experience and skill of the lawyers who worked there. The environment was sober and professional, every detail reflecting the seriousness of what was at stake. An experienced lawyer greeted him, shaking his hand firmly and with a keen look. Andre sat in a comfortable armchair, his thoughts turbulent as he tried to organize the pieces of the legal puzzle that now defined his life. The lawyer began the conversation directly, explaining the details of the case with a clarity Andre found reassuring. He discussed every aspect of the situation, from property rights to the legal implications of Laura's actions. Every word was like a light illuminating the path through the complex maze Andre had been forced to face. As the lawyer presented possible strategies and future scenarios, Andre felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. For the first time since the revelation of Laura's betrayal, he began to glimpse a way out of the darkness that had consumed him. The lawyer not only offered legal guidance but also a sense of empathy that was deeply comforting to Andre. He wasn't just defending a case. He was helping Andre rebuild his life and protect his family's legacy. Every word exchanged was a step toward the justice he sought, a chance to restore the integrity Laura had tried to shatter. At the end of the meeting, Andre thanked the lawyer sincerely, feeling a gratitude beyond words. He knew the journey was far from over, but now he had a powerful ally by his side. Rising to leave the office, Andre felt a new determination filling his chest. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead, armed with the truth and the support of those who believed in him. Andre faced the legal battle with a mix of determination and nervousness. Each day was a new emotional roller coaster, with hearings swinging between hope and frustration. He found himself immersed in a world of complex legal terms and meticulously crafted strategies, navigating a maze of documents and testimonies that seemed to determine his future. The courts became his second home, where he spent endless hours presenting evidence, answering probing questions, and clinging to hope that truth would prevail in the end. Each session was a test of emotional endurance, a testament to his ability to stand firm in adversity. Laura's lawyers didn't make things easier, contesting every move Andre made with calculated fierceness. They sought to discredit his claims, cast doubts on his version of events, and obscure the clarity he desperately sought. But Andre didn't give up. He relied on his lawyer's guidance and the support of friends and family who encouraged him every step of the way. He learned the art of patience and perseverance, knowing that truth was on his side, even if it took time to be fully revealed. Weeks turned into months, and the legal battle continued to unfold. Andre was weary, emotionally exhausted, yet still determined to see justice served. He clung to the hope that one day he could close this painful chapter of his life and move forward with the certainty that he had fought with courage and integrity. Every time he entered the courtroom, he felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. He looked into Laura's eyes whenever they briefly made visual contact, seeing in her a blend of disdain and nervousness. These moments reminded him of his goal and gave him strength to keep fighting, not just for himself, but for the truth and justice he firmly believed he deserved. After months immersed in the intense legal battle, Andre finally found a moment of pause. The courts, which once consumed his days and nights, now seemed distant as he allowed himself to breathe deeply and reflect on all that had transpired. The experience had transformed him in ways he could not have imagined. He was no longer the man Laura had left behind on that night of anguish in the square. Andre had discovered an inner strength he didn't know he possessed, a resilience that guided him through the severest emotional storms. He looked back and saw how each challenge, each obstacle had shaped his journey. The sleepless nights, the intense conversations with lawyers, the tension-filled hearings, all contributed to his transformation. Andre had rediscovered his determination, his sense of justice, and above all, his own identity. In moments of calm between hearings, he found time to reconnect with what truly mattered. He reignited old passions, delved into forgotten hobbies, and strengthened bonds with friends and family who had been by his side throughout the journey. Most importantly, Andre found a new purpose in his life. He was no longer defined by the failure of his marriage or the greed of his ex-wife. Instead, he embraced the opportunity to create a future based on solid values and the integrity he had stood for from the beginning. Each step forward was a statement of his determination not just to survive, but to thrive after the storm. He was determined to build a legacy based on his own strength and resilience, a story of overcoming that would inspire not just himself, but everyone around him. As the sun set on the horizon, Andrei looked to the future with renewed hope. He knew the journey was not yet over, but now he was prepared to face whatever came next, confident that in the end, he would emerge stronger than ever. Andrei's days were an emotional roller coaster, where each twist and turn was born not just by his own courage, but by the unwavering support of friends and family. From the onset of the legal dispute to moments of discouragement, those who loved him were always by his side. Childhood friends became pillars of strength, reminding him of who he was beyond the legal battles. They shared laughter that broke the tension and stories that reminded him that, despite the circumstances, life still held joys. His family also sustained him, each member offering a hand to hold in moments of weakness and words of encouragement to bolster his determination. They witnessed his pain, but also his growth, each of his victories becoming a shared triumph. No matter the challenge or complexity of the process, Andrei was never alone. The emotional support he received was more than encouragement. It was an anchor that kept him steady in the storm. And looking back, he knew that he had not only found the strength to move forward, but also the humility to recognize the power of love and friendship in his journey. The courtroom was tense that day, with each side presenting their final arguments in a legal battle that had consumed months of Andrei's life. He sat in the room, nervous, as lawyers exchanged sharp words and documents were presented with surgical precision. The atmosphere was thick, charged with expectation and anxiety. Every word uttered by the lawyers echoed through the halls of justice. Andrei watched intently, his heart racing in his chest as he awaited the turning point he so desperately desired. And then, as if fate were weaving its own designs, a crucial piece of evidence was presented. It was a previously unknown document, a letter that revealed the true motives behind Laura's actions. Andrei's lawyer held up the paper with determination, his words filling the room with a truth that could no longer be contested. The revelation shook the courtroom. Murmurs spread among those present, while the judge took notes with renewed interest. It was as if a new light had been cast on the case, illuminating the dark corners and revealing a clear path to justice. Andrei felt a mix of relief and triumph. The turning point not only strengthened his legal position but also gave him a renewed sense of hope. He looked at his lawyers with gratitude, acknowledging the hard work and dedication that had led to this crucial moment. As Laura's lawyer desperately tried to react to the twist, Andrei saw a glimpse of justice approaching. The truth had been revealed, and now it was only a matter of time until the final decision was made. In that moment, Andrei knew that, regardless of the ultimate outcome, he had found his strength and his voice. The turning point was not just a matter of legal strategy, but an affirmation of his unwavering determination to seek the truth and protect what was rightfully his. On the day the final decision was announced, the courtroom was charged with anticipation. Andrei and his lawyers nervously awaited the verdict that would determine the outcome of months of legal battle. Each moment felt like an eternity, Andrei's heart pounding in his chest as the judge finally began to speak. His words were measured and solemn, echoing through the silent space as all eyes turned to him. He reviewed the arguments from both sides, examined the evidence presented, and pondered the justice that should be applied. Then came the decision, in favor of Andrei. The verdict echoed through the room like distant thunder, bringing a mix of relief and gratitude. Andrei felt a heavy weight lifted from his shoulders, his mind finally free from the worries that had consumed him in recent months. Laura's lawyers reacted with visible disappointment, while Andrei allowed himself a brief moment of internal celebration. He looked around, seeing the faces of his friends and family radiant with smiles of happiness. Each of them had played a crucial role in his journey to justice, supporting him unconditionally even in the toughest moments. For Andrei, achieving justice was not just a legal victory, but a confirmation of his own resilience and determination. He had fought not only for his rights but for the principle of honesty and integrity that he deeply valued. Now he could look back and see the difficult journey that brought him here, knowing that he had found the truth and protected what was rightfully his. As he left the courtroom, Andre felt a new sense of freedom and peace of mind. He was ready to close this painful chapter of his life and move forward, knowing that he had faced his fears and emerged stronger than ever. Achieving justice was not just an end, but also a new beginning, an opportunity for him to build a future based on principles and the conviction that, even in the darkest moments, truth prevails. After the legal battle and the achievement of justice, Andre found himself facing a new horizon, filled with possibilities and opportunities. He walked the city streets with a renewed sense of freedom and hope, each step marking the beginning of a completely new chapter in his life. The emotional scars of betrayal and abandonment began to fade, replaced by the comforting feeling of having faced his greatest fears and overcome them. He was no longer defined by the painful past, but by the bright future that he was beginning to envision. Andre embraced new challenges with enthusiasm, diving into personal projects he had long postponed. He rediscovered his passions and interests, nourishing his spirit with activities that made him feel alive again. His friends and family continued to be a constant source of support and inspiration, reminding him that he was never alone on his journey. They celebrated each small victory with him, each new step toward a promising future. Andre also found comfort in the simplicity of everyday life. The small joys, like a hot cup of coffee in the morning or a peaceful walk in the park, now held a deeper meaning. He learned to appreciate simple moments and value each experience as a precious gift. As the sun set on the horizon, Andre looked to the future with renewed optimism. He knew he had undergone a transformative journey, one that had shaped him in ways he could never have predicted. And now, with a new beginning stretching out before him, he was ready to embrace everything life had to offer, confident that his story was far from over. Click on the videos that are being recommended to you now.